Hey guys, welcome back to Based MMA. In this video, I'm going to be ranking every UFC weight class just based on entertaining matchups. I feel like there's so many ways that you can go about this. If you want to rank the weight classes, you can rank them based on scale. But I feel like if we talk about the scale, I feel like we can conclude right now that the most skilled weight class are probably the lighter weight class like bantamweight, featherweight, and obviously heavyweight is not as skilled. But just to make the discussion a bit more interesting, let's actually rank these weight classes just based on entertainment. And for me, obviously it's subjective. Maybe most of you guys are probably going to disagree or agree. Let me know in the comments what would be your ranking of the weight classes currently in the UFC. And let's get started with my least favorite weight class in terms of entertainment. Not a surprise to anybody. That has to be the flyweight division. I mean, Alexander Pantoja, in my opinion, he's a pretty exciting champion. But let's be honest, he has already fought a lot of the contenders in this weight class. I believe he's 9-0 over all the guys ranked in the 15, the ranked guys in the flyweight division pretty much. And to me, that makes it a little bit less exciting. The fact that right now there's not really a number one contender in the weight class also makes it a little bit less exciting. I mean, he already has wins over Brandon Moreno, like 3 wins over Brandon Moreno, 2 wins over Brandon Royval, a win over Manel Cap. I believe he also has a win over Kai Kara France, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But because he has beaten a lot of these flyweights and like right now there's not really a number one contender. Royval just beat Brandon Moreno. Nobody wants to see Royval fight Pantoja again when they just fought less than a year ago. Amir Albazi was supposed to fight Brandon Moreno but pulled out due to medical reasons. Manel Cap was supposed to fight Mateus Nicolau in January but pulled out because he missed weight. So Manel Cap was supposed to be like that next contender to fight Pantoja, and we really didn't get that fight. So right now the division is in a weird place. I mean, obviously we have the undefeated contender Mohamed Mokaev, who just fought Alex Perez, but he didn't really cement himself as a next contender. So he probably still needs one more fight. So because of that, I feel like the weight class is kind of in a weird position right now. I mean, Steve Erceg is coming off that knockout over Matt Schnell, so maybe he could crack the top 5, who knows? But right now, I feel like there needs to be more movement in the flyweight division for the weight class to really cement itself and really become a little bit more exciting because like I said, even though Pantoja I think is an incredible champion and maybe the only champion in the UFC currently who has potential to be a long reigning champion, I just feel like the weight class is not in a very exciting place. So for that reason, I would put flyweight as my least favorite weight class. So moving on to the next weight class, I would say would be heavyweight. And I feel like heavyweight is also a weight class right now, which is in a very weird place, very top heavy weight class. Obviously, John Jones is a champion, not a very active champion. I know it's not necessarily his fault. He got injured. But let's be honest, like John Jones is only here to complete his side quest legacy. He's not really here to fulfill the duty of being a heavyweight champion. And because of that, I feel like heavyweight just kind of feels like you forget that there's even a heavyweight division and a heavyweight champion. Honestly, I forget all the time. And let's be honest, like we all think Tom Aspinall is the real champion of the heavyweight division. And I feel like with John Jones kind of there log jamming the heavyweight division, I feel like the division just feels like it's in a very weird place. And I feel like a lot of the exciting matchups at heavyweight we've already seen. I mean, I really wanted to see Sergey Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall. It wasn't that competitive. Tom Aspinall knocked him out in the first round. We've already seen Cyril Gane fight a lot of these guys, but I would like to see him fight Sergey Pavlovich. I would think that would be an exciting matchup. And I think the most likely next big heavyweight fight is going to be Curtis Blades versus Tom Aspinall 2 for the UK at UFC 302. So because of that, I feel like right now heavyweight is very top heavy, and because of John Jones, the weight class feels kind of logjam. So it's hard for me to say that like, oh yeah, heavyweight is a very exciting division when reality right now it's really not, in my opinion. It's really not. So for that reason, I'm gonna put heavyweight as my second least favorite weight class. So now moving on to the other weight classes, I would say welterweight. And I think this is going to be a hot take because I feel like a lot of MMA fans love the welterweight division because it has a lot of recognizable names. I mean, Michael Venom Page just fought Kevin Holland, so now he's cracked the top 15 at welterweight. So maybe there are some potential entertaining matchups. But the thing with welterweight is that I feel like the matchups just never live up to the hype. I just feel like they never really live up to the hype. I mean, Gilbert Burns versus JDM, it wasn't that exciting of a fight. Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards, not that exciting. Gilbert Burns versus Bilal Muhammad wasn't that interesting, but that was a short notice fight. Even Shavkat Ramana versus Stephen Thompson wasn't that exciting. So I feel like, we get a lot of matchups in the welterweight division, but they just never live up to the hype in terms of entertainment. Like, I feel like there's a lot of skilled fighters in the welterweight division. I mean, you got Kamaru Usman, you got Leon Edwards, you got Shavkat Ramanov, you got a lot of new contenders coming up like Ian Gary, JDM, potentially even Sean Brady and Michael Venom Page. So there are a lot of contenders and there's a lot of movement right now in the welterweight division, which I like. But in terms of like the matchups and entertainment, I just feel like it's not really there. Like Leon Edwards is not a very exciting champion, even though he's a very skilled champion. I just feel like right now the weight class is not at its best. And it's not a weight class when there's matchups at 170, I'm never like, oh, this is going to be a banger. This is going to be a banger. I never really think that. So for that reason, I think welterweight is one of my least favorite weight classes. So now moving on to the next weight class, I would say would be the light heavyweight division, which right now the champion is Alex Pereira. And I really like the light heavyweight division. The only thing I want right now is for there to be stability in the light heavyweight division, because now we have Alex Pereira. Now he's going to have an actual title defense against Jamal Hill, which I love. And I love Jamal Hill. I think he's a very exciting fighter, very fast striker, very elusive, great boxing. Yuri Prochazka is one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC. So I absolutely love Yuri Prochazka. So even though I feel like light heavyweight is very top heavy, when I look at the top 5 of light heavyweight compared to welterweight, I kind of enjoy more of the top 5 in the light heavyweight division. Guys like Magomed Ankalaev, guys like Polish Power, John Blachowicz. I mean, I wouldn't really consider Alexander Rakic, but Johnny Walker is exciting. Who else? Like I said, Jamal Hill is one of my favorite fighters. Alex Pereira is one of my favorite fighters. So for that reason, I think I enjoy the light heavyweight division more than like welterweight, more than heavyweight, more than flyweight. And I feel like Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill is an amazing matchup. There's a reason why Pereira is headlining UFC 300, because the guy's a big star. He's a fan favorite. And I love his matchup. So for that reason, I think light heavyweight is a pretty good division in terms of entertaining matchups, even though it's very top heavy. Now, moving on to the next weight class, I would say would be the featherweight division. And the featherweight division is very exciting. One of my favorite weight classes, but it's very top heavy as well. I mean, we got Ilia Topuria as a champion, undefeated. I think the fact that Ilia Topuria is a champion, I mean, it's going to be a lot more exciting because there's going to be a lot more contenders fighting for the belt instead of the same old, Volkanovski, Holloway, Ortega and stuff. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I mean, Volkanovski is coming off that loss, definitely at the end of his career. I would say Max Holloway is moving on to the lightweight division, so he's kind of out of the picture. Brian Ortega is coming off that win over Yair Rodriguez, but before that, he hasn't really been on a streak. Like, he hadn't fought in like over 2 years. And in my opinion, the only contender right now that we have that could potentially fight for the title later on is Movsar Evloev, who is, I believe he's 16-0 or 13-0. I'm going to check right now. What's his record? 18-0. Wow. So he has a pretty good resume, a pretty good record right now. But he really hasn't cemented himself as the next guy to fight Volkanovski or Topuria, whoever ends up winning the rematch. So I think Movsar is most likely going to have to fight like a Brian Ortega to really cement his title shot. So right now, I feel like the weight class is not at its best. I feel like a lot of the guys in the top 15 have already lost. And like, you guys got like Calvin Kattar, you got guys like Josh Emmett, Arnold Allen. You got guys like Giga Chikadze who have been very inactive. Bryce Mitchell is coming off that knockout loss to Josh Emmett. Sodiq Yusuff is fighting Diego Lopez. So potentially Diego Lopez could crack the top 10 or the top 15. So that could get a little bit more interesting. But I feel like right now featherweight is not at its best place. Like, the fact that Brian Ortega might be getting a title shot just tells you that right now, in my opinion, featherweight doesn't really have like the best matchups. So the next weight class, I'm going to go with Bantamweight. I think Bantamweight obviously is a very skilled weight class, and I think it has a lot of entertaining matchups, and I feel like it's a division that's very active. I mean, Sean O'Malley just defended his belt against Marlon Vera, put a dominant performance. Merab just fought Henry Cejudo, put a very dominant performance. Corey Sandhagen obviously dealing with an injury. Peter Yan just defeated Song Yadong. And we got Davidson Figueiredo in the mix. So potentially, if he beats Cody Garbrandt, I think that maybe a potential Figueiredo versus Peter Yan fight would be very exciting. So even though right now I feel like we've gotten a lot of the matchups that we've been wanting at bantamweight, I mean, there's still a lot of exciting matchups. I love O'Malley versus Merab. I think it's a very interesting stylistic fight that I completely love, that we're going to be debating back and forth on who's going to win. I feel like O'Malley could knock him out. Merab could obviously dominate. Corey Sandhagen is also in the mix, and Corey Sandhagen is a very game fighter. I mean, he's going to fight Umar Nurmagomedov when he really shouldn't. He should probably fight for the title. So I love bantamweight. Like I said, Peter Yan is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. Big fan of Sean O'Malley as well. You know, I'm a fan of Henry Cejudo as well. So it has a lot of fighters that I love, and it has a lot of interesting matchups, a lot of very interesting stylistic matchups. So for that reason, I would put bantamweight as the next up. Now, my second favorite weight class is the middleweight division. And even though middleweight division gets a lot of flack for not being the most skilled weight class, I just feel like it has the most personalities and it has the most interesting matchups, in my opinion. Like, we got Dricus du Plessis as a champion. I want to see DDP fight Sean Strickland potentially in a rematch, or potentially fight Adesanya. We got Paulo Costa. We got Robert Whittaker. We got Martin Vettori. We got Jared Cannonier. We got Hamza Chimaev also in the mix. So I feel like right now, middleweight is at a very good place because you could get a lot of interesting matchups. You could get Dricus versus Israel Adesanya, which would be a big fight, a very exciting fight. Sean Strickland versus Hamza Chimaev is a fight that I want. Robert Whittaker versus potentially Brendan Allen could be a very exciting fight. Nasruddin Mavov versus Paulo Costa could also be a very exciting fight. So middleweight, even though, you know, gets a lot of flack in terms of the skill level, I think when I think of matchups and personality, I love middleweight. I really enjoy middleweight. So for that reason, middleweight is my second favorite weight class in the UFC. Now, moving on to my favorite weight class in the UFC, no surprise here, the lightweight division. Lightweight is my favorite weight class. I mean, you got Charles Oliveira, you got Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Armin Tsarukyan, Michael Chandler, Ralph Fiziev, Dan Hooker, Jalen Turner, Benoit Saint-Denis, Mateusz Gamrot. All right. Mateusz Gamrot, not that great. Who else? Who else do we have? So all those guys that I just listed, I mean, Poirier, Gaethje, Oliveira, all of those guys are always an exciting fight. Even Islam Makhachev is in a very exciting fight. And I feel like lightweight, in terms of matchups, they always deliver. Like, you always get a banger. I mean, just think about Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. That was an absolute banger. Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje, absolute banger. Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. So I feel like in terms of the weight class that gives you the most entertainment has to be the lightweight division. It has the most exciting matchups. You have a combination of well-rounded fighters with a lot of strikers in the division. Got Rafael Fiziev, Jalen Turner, Michael Chandler. And it always feels like in the lightweight division, like you're 1 or 2 wins away from fighting for the title, because it just shows you how competitive this weight class is. And I feel like this weight class also has like a lot of recognizable names. So for that reason, the lightweight division is my favorite weight class in the UFC in terms of entertainment, in terms of matchups. I mean, think about UFC 300 and how many lightweight matches are on there. Gaethje versus Holloway, Armin Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira, Jalen Turner versus Renato Moicano. So I feel like lightweight is at its best right now. It's my favorite division. I want to see Islam Makhachev defend his belt. And when there's an Islam Makhachev fight announcement, I get very excited. I feel like he's one of the most exciting champions in the UFC, very well-rounded. Even though he gets a lot of hate just for being a Dagestani, I feel like the lightweight division is the best division in the UFC. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below if you agree. Comment down below your least favorite weight class and your favorite weight class. And let me know if you want me to do more of these. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.